All right, midpoint, finding endpoint. Endpoint is just going to be, it's going to be on either one end or the other, so you can call it an endpoint. And some of them are going to be looking for the beginning or the first point, and then on some of them, you're looking for the last point. I want to show you two ways. One is going to be how you solve the formula backwards, and then the other is going to be using a concept from algebra, which is finding the slope and then counting. You can decide which one is better for you. E is always going to be the midpoint, and F is going to be an end. So it was line DF, so that was written like this. So that means starting at point D and going to point F, or going to point F and then going to point D. In between is going to be point E, and we use the midpoint formula, which was x1 plus x2 divided by 2, then y1 plus y2 divided by 2. I always thought it was a good idea to go ahead and label your y1, y2, x1, x2, but now since we have a midpoint, it's like, all right, well, what do we do if we already know what these two things equal? Well, it's setting it up algebraically, so we're going to end up having a variable that we solve for. Then I'm going to erase it, and then I'm going to go through the slope. So we know the midpoint is 4, 3. We're not going to use that in this formula yet. These are the answers to the midpoint formula. We're going to use 5 and 8. So I'm going to go x, you could say x1 plus 5 divided by 2. And this is where you can use the midpoint, because you know that this thing got this answer. So the x value of putting this together got 4. So we can say that it's equal to 4. Then we can set this one up with the 8. So y, or y1 plus 8. Since we know this is our endpoint, this is technically y2. So divided by 2, and we already know the answer to this is going to be 3. And you're like, oh man, I can't believe we have to solve more problems like this. Yes, let's work them backwards. So whenever there's nothing you can do on the top of a fraction, you have to think about, okay, well, how can I get rid of the division dividing by 2? You would multiply both sides by 2. And honestly, this is going to happen 100% of the time when you're solving a midpoint formula backwards. You'll always be multiplying both sides by 2. And then it'll leave you with this. X plus 5 equals 8. Now you're down to a one-step equation. This is where we get to the point of dividing it into two parts, making sure we're doing the opposite to both sides. See plus 5, so minus 5, minus 5. This will go to nothing. X equals 3. Cool, we already have an x value for what D is. Our value for D, x value, is 3. Let's see what it is for y. See, look, multiplying both sides by 2 again. Get rid of that dividing by 2. Then that is going to leave us with y plus 8 equals 6. Divide it in half. Subtract both sides by 8. That goes to 0. Y equals negative 2. So D is 3, negative 2. I want to show you using the coordinates to see if this even checks out. All right, so I might have made a mistake. So if we plot 3, negative 2, that's right here. Let's label that D. That is a point. There's a point named D. It's a good Johnny Cash song. And then 5, 8 would be the other end. 5, 8, and that's going to be point F. All right, so somewhere in between there should be E, which is 4, 3. 4, 3. Oh, geez. Look at that. That looks like it's right smack dab in the middle to me. Now, there's another way we can check it. Now I can clear all this off. So 3, negative 2. So actually, D is 3, negative 2. So now we have the two ends. We have D and we have F. Now if we wanted to go ahead and check, we could use the midpoint formula to see if we get 4, 3. So it'd be x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. All right, now we just start plugging stuff in. So I'm going to start by labeling everything. Practice what you preach. X2, y1, y2. All right, so that's going to be 3 plus 5 divided by 2, and that is 8 divided by 2, which equals 4. Oh, dang, look at that, 4. What? Wow. And then negative 2 plus 8 divided by 2. Negative 2 plus 8, 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. Oh, geez, look at that. OMG. Okay, so now we know 4, 3 is correct. We know that our proper starting point or other end is 3, negative 2. Check, 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 check. Now, what about if you wanted to go and use formula for slope? I didn't mean to do that. That's okay, that works. So then we know that it was 3, negative 2. Okay. I'm just putting that there so we can check it in the end. We should end up by using the slope, and the point we come up with should be 3, negative 2. I'm going to plot 5, 8. 5, 8. So the way we just did it is the way your teacher's going to show you. Then E is 4, 3. Okay, so the questions I was asking you whenever we were at the library was, if we have E and F right here, you can see that the line is increasing. It's going up. This is a positive slope. So whenever we want to go down, it ends up being a negative slope, right? So all we have to do is just flip it to its opposite. So you can do rise over run by counting. So I'm going to count and then see if that matches the slope we come up with. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. So right now we have a slope, actually slope is M, is up 5 over 1. Now if we keep going up 5 over 1, we're not going to get to where we started. We know that we're going to be somewhere down here. So that's where it should be, at least. So that would turn this into negative 5, negative 1. Down 5, left 1. Down 5, left 1. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 1. Oh, snap. Oh, wait, because I went right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And did I plot that wrong? 4, 3. Oh, D is not at 3. Yeah, it is. Oh, I'm right. There we go. I was looking at it wrong. My bad. So there's D right there. So using the slope. See, we did almost no math there. It's a way to count. So I'll just keep showing this, and if you want to use it, cool. It's a good way to check, just to have multiple methods, whatever. Let's go to the next one. All right. I went ahead and had F and E plotted, just so we could see where they were at. I'm going to go ahead and label them. Name those points. So we can go ahead and make a guesstimation to say that the point should be somewhere in this area. You can see how the line is slanting or sloping. We're going to use the midpoint formula and solve it backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and label this is my midpoint. This is an end. Okay? So x1 plus x2 divided by 2. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. All right, now what we do know is the midpoint was the answer using this formula. So what we do know is we have an x and a y value to plug in to these two parts. That's going to leave us with a variable. That means we're going to have to solve backwards to isolate it, get it by itself. So this is where we can have x And remember, this is line D to F. So we could technically say that this is our x2. So x1 plus x2 divided by 2 equals, what was the x value we got for our midpoint? -1. Okay. Now y1 plus our y value of 9, which is y2, divided by 2 is equal to, all right, well, what did this get to get the midpoint? 6. All right. This is where we go to that default of, all right, we see something divided by 2. This is the part where you're going to divide it by 2 every single time. Multiply by 2. So that's going to leave you with x plus 2. If you divide something into 2 parts, then you'll have 2 halves. And if you multiply it by 2, it means you're putting the 2 halves together. And it makes 1. That's why it's like dividing by 1. That's why you have the x plus 2. And equals -2. Subtract 2. Subtract 2. -2 minus 2 is going to give you -4. And I don't even know if this is right, but we're going to check it and make sure. This is going to be where you multiply it by 2. Multiply it by 2. Y plus 9 equals 12. -9 minus 9. Y equals 3. So what this is telling me is that right now this is point D. -4, 3. Let's see if it fits in the area that we thought it would fit in. -4, 3. Oh, dang. It most def, get it? It def does. It def does. Definitely does. Yes. Okay. Now, what we can do is go back through and check all of this. Let's go ahead and check all of it, then we'll do the slope thing. So, a visual is a good way to check it. All you have to do is ask for some graph paper, make a graph, take the time to plot it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take D and I'm going to take F. I'm going to use the midpoint formula to see if we get -1,6. If we do, then we just got an answer, we plugged it back in, and we got where we started, which was E. So that would be 2 plus, let's see, we had -4, because point D was -4, 3, remember, divided by 2. Then Y was 9 plus 3 divided by 2. All right, so 2 plus -4, -2 divided by 2 equals -1. Oh, dang, what? It is magical. I don't believe it. Okay. And then 9 plus 3 is 12 divided by 2 equals 6. Oh, my God. I don't believe it. It's crazy. Oh, my God. So we know that our point D is absolutely correct. We checked it forward. We looked at a visual. We solved all of this stuff backwards, came up with it, put it back into the problem, put it into the formula, still checks out with what the information was given, and technically we just did a proof. So that's fantastic. Now let's take a look at some slope, because I'm going to throw that in there again. So I would go off the 2 points that you were given, right? Let's pretend like we don't have D yet. Oh, I don't know where D went. I have no idea. Let's see if I can figure it out. So rise over run. How do we go from E to F? We rise 1, 2, 3, and go over 1, 2, 3. So right now we have a rise and run of 3. But that brought us up. So let's do its opposite, because it'll bring us down. What you do to the top, you got to do to the bottom. The rule of all fractions. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, over 3, 1, 2, 3. And we are right back to where we started again, at -4, 3, point D, bliggity blam. So you can see here that there are multiple ways with stuff that you already know. You're just utilizing tools and bringing them all together. All right, last one, and then we'll see where we're at. So D, E, looks like we're looking for F. All right, we'll find you, F. Don't think we won't. I'm going to go ahead and plot these so we can see where they're at, see what we're dealing with here. All right, D, and then E is 1, -2. That means our midpoint's there. That means we have a line that's going up like this. So if we were to guess where this was at, I would say somewhere in here. That'd be my best guess. I mean, you follow the line, that's where it should be. All right, let's find out. So we know we're using that midpoint formula, but we're going to have to kind of modify it a little bit because we don't have all the information we need. Okay, so we know that this is our mid. This is going to be the stuff we use for answers. This is going to be an end. Notice I'm labeling these. I'm not labeling them so you can see it. I'm labeling it because that's what I do to try and figure this stuff out. And it's what I highly encourage you to do so you're not getting mixed up. You're like, okay, I'm not going to use my midpoint in the midpoint formula. It'll be an answer that I get within the midpoint formula. So check this out. So x, y, x plus -3 divided by 2 is equal to, what x value do we get when we solve that? 1. Then there is y plus our -8 divided by 2. And whenever we solved this, what did we get? Well, it says that we got -2. So that's where we're going to keep it. This is that default part where, okay, it's divided by 2. I got to undo it. Times 2 on both sides. X plus -3 equals 2. Now we're to our one-step equation. So, I mean, opposite would be minus -3, which you have double negative is always going to be a positive. So that's going to be x equals 5. Okay, let's try this other one over here. 2 times 2 leaves us with y plus -8 equals -4, because -2 times 2 is -4. This is where we have a one-step equation. So minus -8 minus -8, double negative equals a positive. So this is gone. Y equals 4. All right. So apparently all the work we just did was saying that f is x value of 5, y value of 4. Let's see if it fits in the area that we guessed it would be in. Over 5, up 4. Cool. It fits. Now let's go back and let's see if we can check this work. So we're claiming to have both ends, okay? That means that we have D and we have F. We should be able to find the midpoint between there using the midpoint formula. And the cool part is we already have the answer to the midpoint. If that checks out, we're 100% correct. So -3 plus 5. Notice I'm using D and F. E is still the midpoint. I'm not using this. Divided by 2, then -8 plus 4 divided by 2. So -3 plus 5 is 2 divided by 2 equals 1. Oh, dang, what? Get geeky, oh. And then -8 plus 4 is -4 divided by 2 equals -2. Oh my gosh, we were right. So not only did we guess and make an educated decision on where we thought it was going to be, we went through mathematically proved and said, yes, that is where it is. Then we went back and we checked our answer by taking midpoint and endpoint and endpoint to check and find if E was actually in the middle like it said it was at 1, -2. Check, 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 check. Okay. Now what about slope? We were given D and E. So I'm just going to highlight those real quick. That way, D and E. All right. So let's take a look at the rise to get from D to E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 over 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 over 4. Now, if we do that again, we replicate it, that line will keep increasing by that same rate. Okay, so up 6 over 4, up 6 over 4 for as long as you want it to go. So let's see if it ends up hitting point F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam! That is the third way that we have checked if that was correct, and that required almost no math whatsoever. So I'm just going to clear this off, and I'm going to plot these 2 points, and then I'm going to show you the slope on all 3 problems again without doing any work. So I don't encourage you to do this, but I'm doing it as a way so you can check it. So D, and then 1, -2, E. Okay. Slope. Slope is rise over run, or the change in y over the change in x. That looked like this: y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then you'd end up getting the 6 over 4 like I had before. So we're seeing what the change in y is. How much is it changing going up and down? So we know we're going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We know the change in y is 6. So change in x. How far over do we have to go? Positive 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Now if we replicate this, it'll give you your next point. And now the reason that this would be confusing is if you don't know where you're starting and where you're ending. You wouldn't know what direction to go. But this is why we're really paying attention to when it says DF, that we're starting at D, and there's E, and that's why we're making an educated decision that F is going to be right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is F. No math. All we did was count. All right? So let's go back and do that simple method on the first and second one. All right, so you can see here that we have E and F. That means we're missing D. So E was 4, 3. That's the midpoint. F is 5, 8. All right. Now, this is why we look at the line and go, okay, so this is what I'm looking at. I was given the midpoint and the other end. I know that line segment DF starts with D and ends in F, which means that E is the midpoint, which means that it should be somewhere in this area. Okay? Which means we're going to be counting a slope of down or negative. So we're going to be going left, which is negative, and down, which is negative. Let's find out. So the change in y, or the up and down, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 1. So we went down 5, left 1. If we do that again, we'll find point D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 1. There is point D right there, 3, -2. Just like we figured out with all the math. All right, clear this one. Let's do the last one. All right, so we know that we're dealing with line segment DF. I don't see a D here, so we're looking for D. So let's see, F is 2, 9. You should have graph paper in case you ever want to do this. E is -1, 6, -1, 6. E. Okay, now we're looking for D. We're making the educated decision, or guess, or conjecture, or hypothesis that we're going to have a line that starts with D and ends in F, and E is the midpoint. If E is in the middle, then D is not going to be over here because that would put F in the middle. So F, E, D should be around in here. Okay. So let's find out the change in Y. So are we going up or are we going down? It looks like from F to E, we're going to be going down and to the left, which is negative and negative. Down 1, 2, 3, and left 1, 2, 3. Down 3, left 3. Replicate that process. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's point D. You can take those coordinates and check it with the midpoint formula, the x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. See if you come up with these coordinates again.